love a little punt. And the weather's good.
It's country people. They've been doing it for years and years and years.
There's no shortage of wine or tweed as an afternoon at the Cothelstone racetrack gets underway.
We've one more left to take it. Champagne Rosie, she's over it well.
We can have picnics out the back of the cars and just watch the horses.
It's a centuries-old tradition. Amateur riders and their horses raising money for the coming hunting season.
Almost did it. Almost did it, Derek.
Yeah. Ladies first. I'll have a tenner to win on number 6.
10 on 6.
Derek Mead has had it on the calendar for weeks, as have most of the locals here.
It's all part of country life, really, and this is what we cherish.
Lisa Miller, who represents the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and she is the London Bureau
Chief.
It's the kind of place where out-of-towners are still welcomed and even get to hand out trophies.
Hello there. I bet you weren't expecting this. In front of television and all the rest of it. Congratulations, that was very exciting.
We've come here to Somerset in the southwest of England, a place which revels in its Englishness.
Congratulations. That's really great.
It's a crucial moment. In a little over 2 weeks, England, along with the rest of the UK, will be voting in a referendum on whether to stay in the European Union or leave.
Should we hang in there? Safer.
It's the English, more than the Scots, the Welsh or the Northern Irish, who are the most in favour of leaving. For them, this vote is about what it means to be English.
We've got a lot of foreign slaughtermen, yeah, but they're good chaps.
Derek Mead's family has called this area of Somerset home for centuries.
Well, yeah, we're very old in this patch of North Somerset. We've been here for many, many generations, and we actually originate from serfs and gradually came up through the agricultural scene, and now we are owner-occupiers of agricultural land. We farm about 1,800 acres, milk 350 dairy cows organically. We've got an open farm, is where the general public can come and see the cows being milked.
Do they see you as the landed gentry around here?
I hope not, because we are landed gentry in that phase of the word. But no, I don't really fancy myself as the upper crust of the gentry of England.
That must be spectacular for garden parties in summer.
When it's all flowing and everything else. You know, we had quite a few weddings here and one thing and another.
Yeah.
So we'll go
Champagne
through here.
in the sunshine.
Oh, definitely. Go through here. We'll show you the clock tower.
Farmer, businessman, entrepreneur, Derek Mead is also now a leading voice in the debate locally over Britain's future. Britain has been part of the European Union for more than 40 years, and Derek is trying to stop what they're calling a Brexit.
I classify myself as a Great Britainer, through and through, but I am a European. The reality is that we are a small island on the edge of Europe with a population of 500 million, which we should be looking at as our customer base. Our relationship should be in Europe, because I think it's essential. As a farmer, the Common Agricultural Policy, I don't necessarily agree with it, but if the agricultural policy was done away with, a lot of our farmers would be, 80% in my opinion, if not more, would be in the red.
And so to open the Croquet World Championships in Peasdown, St John.
This region is also home to a Tory politician with a big reputation.
That where Somerset leads, the world follows.
Jacob Rees-Mogg is a proud local member who served his constituency for 6 years.
To wish the contestants the best of luck.
Eton educated and slightly eccentric, they joke about him being the honourable member for the early 20th century. But he doesn't mind. It comes with the territory when you're considered part of British aristocracy and drive an old Bentley.
I believe in freedom and I believe in democracy. And those are old-fashioned values, but they're also modern values. And therefore, if people think I'm old-fashioned for backing them, then I'm delighted to be the Member of Parliament of 1265 when all of this really started.
His father was a lord and the esteemed editor of one of the great British institutions, the Times newspaper.
Well, my family's lived in Somerset as far back as we go. We moved into what is now the North East Somerset constituency in 1628, so we've been here forever, really.
A heritage-listed manor house is home for the Rees-Moggs and their 5 children. His wife is descended from an earl.
Here is Thomas Wentworth, who is my wife's ancestor, who was Charles I's main advisor, and for his pains lost his head in 1641.
And speaking of,
and that's right. That's right. My wife, given to me by my mother-in-law as a wedding present.
The 47-year-old is a firm Eurosceptic. He's happily found himself at the front of the campaign to leave the EU, at odds with fellow Tory British Prime Minister David Cameron, who wants to stay.
Yes, no, quite right. The best place. It's a country with a very distinguished history, but also a very exciting future, based on our democracy, the rule of law, and freedom of speech. And Europe is a subset of that. It's not the essence of our identity.
Is there a sense that people want to return to an England that just simply doesn't exist anymore?
I hope not. I actually think the Little Englander argument should be turned round, that it's a little Europe. That Europe is protectionist. It keeps out a lot of Australian goods, for example, particularly agricultural produce. It's about creating an old-fashioned, outdated European model where Europe is the most important continent in the world, where actually Asia has overtaken us. China and India are growing much faster.
It's the very picture of rural English countryside, inspiring poetic masters like Coleridge and Wordsworth. But don't be fooled, Somerset might be dotted with sleepy villages, but its population is growing fast and unemployment is low. Tourism and agriculture drive the economy.
250 bid, 50 bid, 50 bid, 50 bid, 250, 250, 250.
And this is Derek Mead's domain.
In the ring, take a 2-2, 52, 52, 52, 52, 5, 55, 8, 58, 58, 258, 60, 260.
Wow, just like that. There's no mucking around, it's really quick. So they've done this pen, they sold them?
Yeah, one of the big styles of a good auctioneer, he keeps it moving. If you stop, you lose your momentum.
He created this market 9 years ago.
180, at 180, 182, 182, 185, at 185, 88, 88, 88, 88.
This is one of the biggest livestock auctions in England. By the end of today, they will have bought and sold about 6,000 head. It's not just about business. This is a farmer's meeting place where they come here, they talk, and what they're talking about is the referendum and whether to stay in or get out.
We've worked it up the French, we worked it up the Germans, we've got to work it up politically, and we've got to be in with both feet. And the trouble at the moment, we're half in, half out, we don't know where we are.
That's very true, but I also think that the majority of the public don't understand the tariffs.
Europe buys 45% of Britain's exports, A lot of that comes from the land. Farmers have benefited from EU subsidies, receiving £3 billion a year from Brussels, almost half of their income, as well as access to a market of 500 million people. Britain joined the common market in 1973. Back then, farmers supported it. So what are they thinking now?
The main worry when it comes to farmers is the bureaucratic crap that they believe comes out of Europe. But the whole trouble is, our MPs and our Ministry of Agriculture are not over there doing proper representation when they bring in new legislation. Now in France, if they don't like it, they bin it.
What are all the things that bug you about the EU?
Paperwork.
Why? Tell me a little bit about that. What goes on?
You've got to fill in forms for everything, basically. Luckily, I've got a daughter who does most of it nowadays. I think I would have given up if I hadn't had somebody to take on that side of it.
At 1920, at 20 half one.
Farmers have also had the choice of millions of migrant workers from poorer European countries prepared to put in back-breaking hours for minimum pay. In spite of the cheap labour, for some, the number of people moving here is a worry.
If the vote was today, which way would you be going?
I'd come out. And the reason I would come out is for our own sovereignty, our own democracy, our own security, and to safeguard our own borders. The immigration numbers, I've been told and led to believe, are 300 net coming into the country. Over 10 years, that's 3 million.
That's a message we hear again and again, the desire to be in charge of their borders.
I think the vote at the end of the day will depend on the man in the street, a very ordinary man, and if there's a big crisis with migrants or with terrorism close to the vote, then that will make a big difference. Sovereignty is more important than subsidy. I'm just going to buy this heifer a minute.
Okay.
There's one group in Somerset that has a lot to lose if England leaves the EU. Their future here hangs on it. Sunday morning church service in the city of Taunton in Somerset.
Radosnym głosem wykrzykujcie Bogu.
For these Polish immigrants, this is as much about community as communion.
Jest wielkim królem nad całą ziemią.
It's a couple of hundred people, you know, every Sunday, like let's say 10 years ago, it was just about 30, 40 people. So it is some sort of improvement, I have to say.
Ivona Kott is one of around 700,000 who've come from Poland to live in the UK.
Ciało moje jest prawdziwym pokarmem, a krew moja jest prawdziwym napojem.
There are so many of them now living in Somerset, they have their own priest, shipped in by the church to care for this growing flock of foreign Catholics.
Na prośbę waszych dzieci pobłogosławcie swoje pociechy.
Which is absolutely brilliant because he is a very important part of our life. Like a couple of years ago, you would have to go to Poland to have a Holy Communion.
Do you want a coffee?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You always make me.
Leaving her office job in a government department in Poland, Ivona was part of a wave of Polish people who rushed to find work and better lives in the UK when their country joined the European Union in 2004.
Oh, well, I'm on nights again tonight.
Yeah.
The Freedom of Movement Act means people can migrate from one country to another with barely any restrictions. All they need is an EU passport.
Yeah, it was busy as every day, but I will manage. When I came over here, I work as a cleaner and I work in a factory. Basically, you know, sometimes it was a very, very busy time. And I remember that it was the time when it was big orders, so we had to work something like 13 hours sometimes, you know, 14 hours.
No, mówię, jeszcze w życiu nie myślałam, że jeszcze mnie takie coś spotka.
10 years later, Ivona is engaged to an Englishman. Stuart has a child with him and has brought her grandmother from Poland to live with them.
Well, communication is a bit of an issue because, I mean, me and Babcia, we do get on really well, but obviously there's many times when she will ask me something and I have to ring Ivona up and get her to translate over the phone.
Their welcome mat is always out for other Polish immigrants.
I get a little bit of banter at work, you know. I mean, my house is known as Little Warsaw. You know, it's that and the Polish embassy of Taunton.
It is, actually.
Ivona has also broken through another very English barrier.
Yeah, I feel very special. I'm serving British police and British people, so basically I'm very proud of it.
After a year as a volunteer, she earned the right to wear the badge.
And by order of the court, they are not allowed to talk about us.
Her beat is the toughest in Taunton, a poor neighbourhood of public housing and a growing population of Polish migrants on low incomes.
How your English is progressing?
You know, my English is not very well, but I think when I'm coming to the English lesson, my English is very, very good.
Just down the road from the Taunton police station, we meet Simon Braun, a publican and a patriot. He's lived all over the UK and moved here a year ago to open this pub.
I was actually surprised when I moved here that there were so many migrants in the area. That surprised me because I wasn't used to that. I thought sunny Somerset, London would be, in my ignorance, London would be more of a place where they would go to.
Spotting the influences in Taunton of the EU's open door on migration isn't hard. It's the same across the country. In the last decade, the number of EU-born people living in the UK has more than doubled and is now over 3 million.
What does it do to a community when there is an influx of immigrants?
I think it causes a problem. I moved once and I felt as though, this was a suburb of London, and I felt as though I was an outsider, almost made to feel that I wasn't really welcome. And I was born in this country. So I went and moved because I wanted to live in an area with people like me. Now, that one could say, I'm a racist.
Are you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's not about race, it's not about religion, it's about us just being told to do and put in our place by Europe.
So what's been lost in England?
We've lost the pride. We've lost the pride to say, hi, I'm English, or hi, I'm British. Because all of a sudden, you are seen as being, by saying that, you are seen as being sort of knocking everyone else that's not. So I think we've lost that pride in who we are, nationality.
For those who plan to vote out, it's a common complaint that the EU is an impediment to England being the great country it should be.
We've been this island, and I think this is what's going back to this whole Brexit thing, is that we almost are defending ourselves against what's happening. We've just had enough, or I've certainly had enough, of being dictated to by Europe.
Well, it couldn't be a better way to tell me a little bit about the history of this place anyway.
For a broader view, we've had to leave Somerset. We've come to Cambridge to visit historian Professor Robert Toombs.
Nobody doing this is a student, and nobody apart from me is probably British.
He's written what's regarded as the definitive book on it all, the English and their history.
Why has immigration become such a big issue for people in England?
people on the whole do not dislike the immigrants who are here. You don't get people smashing the windows of Polish grocers' shops, or I have a mosque in my street. It would be unthinkable that anyone would firebomb the mosque or anything like that. That just won't happen. But I think people have a sense that this is an uncontrolled and open-ended process, which could go on for years and which would, in that case, greatly change the sort of society we are. And the idea that the people who know best make the big decisions, and then the rest of us sooner or later follow, is not part of our tradition. Well, I think people feel that they want to decide.
Fear was part of Britain's initial decision to join the EU in the 1970s. Fear of a failing economy and a loss of clout. Back then, Britain looked to Europe as a way to keep its place in the world. But that's changed.
And I think the change has been that people are no longer as scared as they were in the 1960s and 70s, because Europe no longer seems to be the lifeboat. If anything, it seems to be the Titanic. And I think people are much more confident about Britain's potential future. So in a sense, the argument has been about whether the future outside the EU would be bright or whether it would be dark.
Can we give you one of our leaflets?
Oh, great. Thank you.
You can get your father to have a look at it too.
Voting isn't compulsory in the UK, and spending a Thursday queuing at the ballot box may not be the most appealing prospect. Making sure people get out to vote will be crucial. For Jacob Rees-Mogg, it's a family affair. His 8-year-old son Peter with him all the way. Recent polls suggest the Leave and Stay sides are neck and neck.
Your supporters, Trump and Putin?
Well, Trump and Putin are not our supporters.
But you're happy to be associated with them?
I have no association with either of those.
But they are supporting the Brexit campaign.
The British people, no, they're not.
Well,
the British people are not going to be lectured by foreign leaders about our democracy.
He's a very charming, very articulate man. He's certainly a gentleman. He's well respected. But I think on this issue, he's just wrong.
It's a fanciful idea. They have not made it work, have they? The EEC they have not made it work, and they're unlikely to make it work. They're too blinkered.
To my mind, it's an absolute no-brainer. I think if we come out, we'll be worse off in so many ways.
All you're doing is doing what you're told by foreign leaders.
No one really knows what will happen if the UK leaves the EU. There is very little concrete information. The Stay side's predictions are grim. High unemployment, a falling sterling and £4,000 less per year in the pockets of voters. Codswallop, according to Mr Rees-Mogg.
How are these?
They haven't yet come out with the plague of frogs and the death of the firstborn and the plague of locusts. I expect that will come in the last few weeks. I think the Remain side have become so absurd in their claims as to look ridiculous. And the Prime Minister even suggested we might go back to war if we left the European Union. This is just silly. It's trying to scare people into doing something with fantasies, with children's tales, with beware of the bogeyman.
Well, you can talk about trade and regulations, but at the end of the day, this has become a campaign about immigration.
Well, actually, it's come down to democracy. Who's in control? Do we vote for a government that can govern us, or do we have our laws made in Brussels?
What would you put with this, Savannah?
Oh, I would put mustard and ketchup. It's tasty.
Over in Taunton, the cultures are bonding over dinner.
Share cultural differences, try traditional English barbecue food and try a Polish traditional sausage and barbecue. So that was the point.
Okay, I'm putting tomato.
Yes.
Some of these people are new arrivals. Just a matter of months ago, they left their Polish homes with the same ambitions Ivona had a decade earlier. But they're arriving just as Britain decides if they will have to leave again.
My English is not good. I worry because
Nie czuję się pewnie. I not feel. Yes. I not feel safe.
I've got a permanent resident status, so I'm allowed to stay here and work here, you know. But I don't know about the consequences, actually. I don't know who is going to have a right to stay or not. I don't know.
Come on!
Oxford University estimates if Britain takes the exit door, 75% of EU migrants working in the UK wouldn't meet the current requirements to be allowed to stay.
Come on!
Derek Mead believes the economy won't sustain it. Too many English just aren't prepared to take on menial jobs.
We feather-bedded our social remunerations now to such an extent, a lot of these will not even touch it. They won't even get anywhere near it. And the only way that these jobs are actually done is by people coming in from abroad.
You're saying the English won't touch it? Why?
Yeah. Because they can earn more by social welfare than what they won't go out and do it. And they physically don't like dirty, wet jobs, which are not very pleasant.
It's the state opening of Parliament. The pomp and pageantry of British politics is celebrated. Jacob Rees-Mogg is in London on his way to Westminster.
Romantically, it's the spectacle. There is a theatrical element to it, which is enjoyable.
For Jacob Rees-Mogg, it's a reminder of just who should hold the power to decide this country's future.
And that's what this European referendum's about, is ensuring that the power remains with the people and isn't handed over to Brussels bureaucrats. For the worst of all worlds, they don't even have an imperial state crown. You know, they're frankly dowdy, boring people, and I think stopping them is very important.